ready?
Sometimes I'll just deer in the headlights it.
All right, welcome to another episode. I think we're on episode 15, 16 now of
Samsonite.
Hold My Wine, a wonderfully Willamette podcast. We have a special guest with us today, my dear friend, Reuben Tinja. He's going to tell us a little bit about himself, what he does, how he ended up in Salem, or if he's been here forever, a little bit about his family, and what kind of wine he likes. Are you excited to be here?
Oh yeah, that's a lot.
Also,
don't do that again.
I'm a big fan of your sandwiches. I gotta say, like they're
Actually, I really love them.
amazing. Your family,
One of our favorites.
Oh my god, they revolutionized
I wish.
the industry.
Same thing. Yeah.
All right, so tell us a little bit about yourself, Reuben.
Well, so I was a teacher for almost 15 years.
Yeah,
I taught high school science.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds fun.
It was a lot of fun.
Just biology or just regular? What grade was
science.
it again?
I taught physics and chemistry.
She went to school in Texas, so the science is a little bit different down there. Yeah, they replaced science with Bible study.
Exactly. Physics and chemistry.
I loved it. But
I
burnt out.
Yeah, I get it, especially with everything that's been kind of going on in the education world.
Yeah, it was just too much. So I had to transition, and so we decided, well, what am I going to do? And I said, well, I like my woodwork. I've been doing this for 15 years.
Wow, yeah.
And it was an easy transition. I was a teacher. I didn't make that much, and my wife stayed home,
Which is a travesty.
Right?
Yes.
Right.
Which is a goddamn travesty.
It makes no sense. Like, okay, you have 30 kids, like, most.
It was a lot of work.
Oh, gosh.
So we learned. So I wanted to woodwork, and my wife said, well, you're gonna have to sell something.
Yeah.
And so I started well, maybe I'll make a cutting board, and I sold that. And I'm like, I'll make some picture frames, and I'll make this, and then I started selling furniture, and it was basically I would sell something, and then I would get some money, and then I'd buy a new tool, or I'd buy a new saw blade, and so it's just slow. So
same thing happens with cooking. Yeah. Like you start buying something, and you get a new toy.
I got this new pot. I like this one.
Yeah, this pot is cool. Ooh, sous vide. Oh, I know. This is great.
So it was well, I basically have a full-on professional level shop. Like I bought it. It's all. It's older tools, and my favorite is to buy really old solid steel tools.
Oh, like cast iron, like
take them apart to that thing, and
steel and cast iron tools. Yeah. Like you got the what's it called? The
scraper.
The thing with the scrapes the wood off.
Oh,
the hand planes. So
I do most of So a lot of I do a mix. I'm a traditional woodworker, so I do a lot more hand.
You still get them out very fast.
I do for the cutting boards and all that. Yeah. I do them by hand. I do by my machine. I have my table saws and all that, but my background, I did most of my furniture. I do still the joinery. I do by hand.
Oh my god!
Which gives me the ability to, if there's something I can go and I can just take my chisel and fix, or something. It's a lot easier to just.
No, I thought you did the cutting boards by hand too.
No, I mean by hand is fun.
Well, and you have a full planer for sending the cutting boards through and everything. So how wide is your planer?
I have a 15-inch.
Okay.
And then I have a 1632 sander.
Okay.
So I can do wide belt sands up to 32.
Nice.
You guys are talking about stuff I have no idea.
Well, so do you know what a planer is and what it does? So imagine a big tool, big tool, and there's a little slot there, right? And as you send wood through, it sands it all down, smooths it all down to one. Like you have to send it through multiple times because it takes off a layer, right?
So when I buy my wood, I buy I don't. So what I will say is my business model. There's no way I could go to the store and buy just commercial lumber.
Right.
It is outrageously expensive.
And I've heard sometimes it's the quality.
It's not. It's So what I do is I find lumber from large scale.
Like reclaimed.
Yes, people have. I try to get trees that were already fallen instead of were felled. So you have a big oak tree falls in your backyard, and people get it. They say, "Oh, I'm going to do something with it." They have that lumber milled, and then they sit in their backyard for 6 years, and then they go post it on Facebook or Craigslist or something. And so I'll buy stacks of lumber, and then I let it sit and dry in my yard, and do that. So I buy raw. I mean, when you're talking lumber, you're talking twisted, curvy, not flat, not straight, not. So you have to. So the planer is one of the tools to take it from just a pile of nothing to beautiful.
Cool.
And get into all that natural wood look and everything too. Have you done anything with those? Was it the epoxy tables or anything like the?
Oh yeah.
Have you done some stuff
so
like that?
So I have done. So like I'm a teacher, right? Like that's what I did, right? So I'm a learner, and that's what my wife. She says what I like to do is I'll make a list of all the things, and I'll just like do them at least once, just to see, and that's how
Well, what's next on your list?
Well, so I did epoxy, and I did not like it. It's not my style.
And
it's messy. It's smelly.
Yeah,
it's expensive, but it's also I'm more reclaimed. I do.
And a lot of times too, because once you have to let it sit there and cure for quite a bit, don't you?
Well, yeah, and there's also a lot of problems with epoxy because epoxy encapsulates the wood. You have to be really careful about what moisture content is, and it's not a living surface anymore. It's more of like a piece of plastic. Which
That's why I go back and forth on it. There's some where I'm like, okay, they're nice, but the ones where it's like that have like the turquoise, epoxy and all of that, I'm like,
it's just not my style.
I don't think
I like those big ones. They're like, it looks like when they do it with multiple, like rivers and stuff flowing through, because they'll do different layers of different colors and things like that. And So I mean, when I've gone down those YouTube holes, right? It's like watching the one,
slabs for that, but I just generally do. Yeah. I'm a more traditional woodworker. That's what I used to do. So I do like a lot of shellac.
Like Jesus, you're Jesus.
He was a son of a carpenter.
No, Jesus was a carpenter.
Was he a carpenter?
Yeah.
Wasn't Joe also wasn't Joe also a carpenter? I mean, that where he learned his trade, right?
It's
a family thing. Hey Mary, I gotta go. We broke another cup. I gotta go make another wooden chalice.
Jesus was a carpenter too, wasn't he?
I have no idea.
I mean,
you're in Texas.
See, they got rid of the science curriculum and the Bible studies. I nailed it.
Okay, well, what else do you have on your list?
So that's what I'm right now. I'm working on different 3D. I should have actually brought them.
Yeah.
I've been working on making 3-dimensional boards, and the most recent is amazing.
We'll
show and tell. It would be show and tell.
We'll put a photo here.
Yeah, there you go.
But that's been a lot of fun. So trying to think ahead, right? Just with the 3Ds, with the normal pattern, I just look for something beautiful in the wood, and I try to bring that out. But with the 3Ds, I have to. And it's usually 4 or 5 steps. So
Okay, so 3 by I'm trying to formulate this in my brain.
I almost did.
Do you have a photo of it on your phone?
I have it on our social media.
Do you have so your business social media, right?
Yes.
So what is
Tinja's workshop? Is my Tinja's workshop?
Tinja's?
Yes.
So TIN. So that Tinja comes from my one of our first dog. So our first dog
was named Tintin.
His name was Tinja. So Ninja Turtles.
Oh, that's cute.
Tinja Nurdles. So it was a
joke. Tinja Nurdles.
She couldn't pronounce it. I think when she was growing up, she couldn't pronounce it properly.
No.
She kept saying the wrong.
Raphael.
Yeah. Okay, so how do you do this?
Leonardo.
What are you trying to get?
Okay, here you go.
Mika.
Here's the video. Pattern.
And Dianatello.
And
that's pretty freaking cool. I want one.
Yeah.
Look at that.
So those are, So that's what.
So can you do it with like a logo and make it 3D?
Showing you what this is.
So
this is great.
Depending on, I have to think.
You should totally see this.
We can do stuff around it. Actually, my next vision is to do one that might. Let me see. I have an idea of what's going to come next. So
okay.
We'll see.
Stay tuned.
But so that's what I've been playing with. I'm just trying to see if I can take it a little bit farther.
Absolutely. Well, that's awesome.
What about? So you were at the high school doing science, and you're big into woodworking.
Yeah.
How did that?
Did you run or do any extra projects at the woodworking shop at the high school, or did that high school not have a woodworking shop?
No. So my original, I taught in New Mexico for 10 years, and at that school, the wood shop teacher there. So I taught myself how to woodwork.
Okay. During that time frame,
that time, I was a teacher, and I did it off to the side. Mm-hmm. And he was really helpful. So I would
was he a mentor with your?
Yeah, he would help me. So I couldn't do anything in the shop. I couldn't go in there doing class or do things because of liability stuff. But what he would allow me, I would bring in
You could do stuff after
cutting. Well, I would just bring in I would have a cutting board that I would need flattened.
Oh, and you'd run it through the planer.
He would run it but so if you're doing end grain like I'm doing there, you can't run it through the planer; they crack.
Oh.
And so you have to have a sander.
Oh.
And so a wide belt sander is expensive. You're talking they're thousands of them. So I was starting out, so I would just kind of drop it off in the morning, and he'd have the kids as one of his classes because they have to do stuff. They have to teach them. And so hey, while you're doing that, can you run this through? And so I'd get, and that was invaluable to start with because that's thousands of dollars.
That reminds me. So what we used to make in shop back in the day, which you would not be able to make today. We take old saw blades, big round saw blades, and you'd cut them. And then you'd make the wooden handle. You're making a knife. So we'd make knives out of saw blades. There's no way you can do that today.
No, they would not let you do that at all.
It's are you bringing any weapons to school? No, I've got this one saw blade for shop. Okay, cool. A little bit later, now I have a weapon at school.
That
would look so cool.
The amount of things they did. They actually did a project like that.
Yeah.
But that was
let's make a knife.
Yeah. It's, especially when you're growing up in rural areas and stuff too. Because saw blades can make some cool knives because they got all those teeth on there. Yeah, you cut them the right way, however you want it, and then you got to cut the little square, rectangle down with some holes.
Well, I do a lot of, I said hand tool woodworking, right? So saw blades are actually really good because they're fairly hardened steel. They're good quality.
Yeah. They have to be.
So I make blades out of it. Yeah. So I want a special profile or something.
I know. I used to do that in the 90s. Come on.
I saw it do that.
Yeah. And then you can make some cool handles and stuff too.
So so for specific profiles for beating on trim and stuff, so I'll make a blade for
geeking out on blades.
Yeah. Hell yeah! I like a good.
But
knife.
It's a process.
Yeah. Gerber knives are here in Oregon. Did you know that? Let me start earlier. You know what a Gerber knife is?
It sounds familiar.
Okay, cool. Yeah, they're out of.
You would probably hate the knives that I have that I use for cooking.
Oh, I probably would.
They are not it's one of those Okay.
Well, I'd say any knife, but any knife-ish, you can take it and get it all sharpened and stuff too.
Gosh, Nate, you require so much of me.
Salem Saturday Market.
That guy, he's good.
He's good. There's
no time at all.
Yep. Go down to Salem.
Really?
Go down to the Salem Market and get your knife sharpened.
Like a bread knife. How do you?
They still sharpen.
Mm-hmm. You really?
Yeah.
How?
You sharpen the sides, not the
bottom part. Honestly, my field is real estate and looking cute.
Not knives.
Not knives. That's a good thing.
We're all safer because of that.
Right. All the guys are sitting thank you.
Yeah. She killed him. She had to stab him 42 times. 42 times. It's a very dull knife.
I had to keep going.
First he said, ow. Then that didn't really cut it.
It just made her angrier.
It made her. She started seeing red.
Gosh. Sorry, those kids are random.
Yeah.
Okay, so how did you from New Mexico to Salem? How did you end up here?
So I had a friend who was getting married in Albany area.
Okay.
Familiar with its work?
She was 7 years ago, and I was one of her best men.
Yeah.
And so we kind of took a road trip up here.
And fell in love.
Well, I went to U of O for 2 trimesters on a
dare,
an exchange. So it's like Western exchange something college. So
you trying to get people.
Pay,
so
you
it's
could pay.
You're like an exchange student.
Yes,
for
in the West.
universities in the West.
So you pay, you're going to your school, but then you can go to U of O for 1 semester at my school, which was 2 trimesters.
That
here.
Sounds cool.
And it was fun just to come and
an experience.
Check it out.
Yeah.
Little did New Mexico know by doing this, they're getting rid of people because you can go up to Oregon. What's the worst that can happen? They lose their population because it's so beautiful.
It is. Yeah. How did you feel when you first moved up here?
Oh, I love it. I moved up here for the weather. I love it.
Oh. Well, have you? Well, you're Texas. So, New Mexico weather.
New Mexico. My hobbies are garden. I love to garden.
Oh, you can't do that in there.
Yeah, that sounds perfect for New Mexico.
Yeah.
Everything's just rock and
Hatch chilies.
It's not. I don't know. It doesn't
bring
out life.
Chili is good.
Yeah, that's true. We haven't found good chili here.
Yeah, you won't. just make it. Figure out how to
Well,
make it
I was going to
grow.
say, it's like you can find good chili, you just have to make it at home.
I actually haven't even found, even when I grow my own, like jalapenos are not as hot here because of the climate. It just
Yeah.
doesn't.
Well,
It just don't get hot.
True, but you just swap it out with some habanero.
Well, you see up that.
There we go.
Yeah. I mean, you want heat.
Okay,
You
so
can
what
find
kind
heat.
of things do you plant? What kind of things do you have in your garden?
So I'm a hobby collector. Is what my wife calls me.
Okay, I'm like.
This Renaissance man does woodworking and he's a
That's what
gardener.
I'm like-
one of the things I did was
You have cows?
I took some classes at OSU on permaculture design.
Oh, I've seen those. Yes.
And so that is basically my house. I have a 3/4 acre property in the middle of suburbia. And so we have a food forest going. And so
Good
I focus
job.
on zero to no input.
Good
So
job.
like I save my own seeds, I make my own compost, and I do that, but I try not to buy and not to
Yeah.
import. I don't spray.
That's
So
awesome.
I have,
you
like-
do have cows.
No.
Oh my
no,
gosh.
I wish. I have
Ah.
chickens.
You have
That's
chickens.
as far as you're allowed to go. in the
Okay,
city.
whoever gets cows first gets to let the other person.
I mean, I
Let them
have a
name it.
friend who got goats,
Oh my
and
gosh.
I think that's interesting, but I don't know if I
You
have
don't.
enough.
I don't know if you want a garden centric
no,
Place
place
not
and
with
have goats, and then that goat gets out, and then
And
boom.
animals,
Just in
there's a
case.
lot more medical than you actually ever expect.
Yeah,
I
it
grew
is
up
a
lot
on
more
I grew
you
up on a
have to
sheep
deal with.
farm,
Did you?
and I did. We had lots of chickens,
There's a
sheep,
lot of issues that
goats.
come up.
I have a thing I
I've
want to get.
had to
into
help
wool.
those stupid sheep give birth.
Yeah, that's
Oh.
there's a lot of
They'll be bloated out in the field. You got to go and like puncture them so they
I've
get.
seen that
Yeah,
before.
it's like, or otherwise you get a popped sheep.
Did you
That's
see?
kind of why I like chickens.
There's a video of like these hogs, and they ate like fermented corn, so they were drunk, and they got super bloated, and the farmer was trying to like, "Oh, are you okay?" And he was on the side of a hill, and the pig just like.
Started rolling.
I mean,
It was a Limp Bizkit song. He just kept rolling, rolling, rolling,
Yeah, it
rolling.
was so bad. But no, that's
Still at
amazing.
work.
So have you? There's a guy on social media. I don't remember his last name. It's like Ron something.
Swanson.
I wish. I am obsessed with him though too.
He
Even though he's
he
fictional.
does a lot of woodwork.
Yeah,
actually,
And that's
in real
your
life,
Ron
it's very,
Swanson.
very impressive.
IRL, him and Adam
But-
Carolla.
This guy, his name's Ron. He grew up in the East Coast, and so their whole thing was he was like, okay, well, if we're trying, like, there are areas where they're just like that you won't find like fresh vegetables and fruit and stuff.
mhm.
So he started like planting in his front yard, but he kept getting fined by the city because they were like, you can't do that. And he was like, so you mean I can't with my own property like plant fruits and vegetables or whatever I want on it just because it doesn't look appealing to you technically? And so there was this whole
Was that like an
debate.
HOA thing?
I don't know. I'm pretty sure like it was
A lot
an
of people
HOA
live in
thing,
HOA.
but honestly, he ended up getting like he went to court and he did all this stuff, and so basically it's semi-approved that you can do that. And now that's like his whole mission now, where it's like, yeah, it's great to have like a pretty lawn, but use it like
Right.
it's soil. Like use it for.
I don't know if you ever seen up Glen Creek. There's a house there, and they turned their entire front yard into vegetables
That
and
makes
everything.
so much sense.
Yeah.
I mean,
But
like,
much
yeah.
smaller property.
Well, my neighbors thought I was crazy because so I've done on my property.
Thought
I think
or-
almost think.
Think.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, I mean, so like I think it's about 30 or so loads, so you can get free loads of wood
Yeah.
chips from the tree companies and
Oh,
blah
I
blah
didn't know
blah.
that.
And because they have to pay to dispose of it, so like it costs them to go dump it. So like
You're
everyone
their dump.
wins. I'm their
Oh, so
dump.
you can just go pick it up like a
Oh no! I signed up with all the companies, and
So they'll
there's
just drop it off.
chipdrop.com that'll tell you, and there's like this. The power company has a list. and everyone has a list.
Chipdrop.com.
Really?
Is that what you said?
Because
Chip
that's
drop.com,
good
yeah.
for like even if you have like dogs and stuff, like people who like
Right.
especially here like and so they don't have muddy paws where I'm like okay
Oh yeah,
do
wood chips are the best,
or
and
do
they're
you
really
use
good for the
straw?
soil long term.
Oh my gosh! I did
And
not
so
know
I've
that.
done. So like my whole front yard used to be grass. And
Yeah.
I do cardboard. So I get cardboard, use cardboard, and just
Yeah.
smear out the grass, and then wood chips. And now
That's
it's
awesome,
amazing.
Reuben.
Now it's actually alive.
Yeah, it's actually like
Before it was just grass.
yeah. Oh no, I'm all about. Okay, so one of my Nate has slowly known that I have like certain weird like my cow obsession, but I also
It's true.
by the time I'm 60, I do want an
Which is only in a
off-grid-
couple years. Don't get it twisted.
Like,
Black don't crack. She's like 58. You know.
I am. It's only 2 years.
Yeah.
away.
He's a couple years
I want
away.
an off-grid property. Like I want complete. Like I want it to be self-sufficient. Like completely. Like in case or when the apocalypse happens, it is happening.
So when the apocalypse happens,
I'll be good.
you're
I'll be
gonna have
okay.
cows and
I will
be
have
good.
cows. I'll have a full like barbed wire fence. No, I'm not.
Yeah.
I probably will have a fence, but
So what in this world, what's causing this apocalypse? Because
honestly, I
this
think
might
zombies,
be a cow-free apocalypse.
No, I think zombies.
Yeah, most movies.
Zombies are going to eat the cows.
Zombies are like your number
No,
one.
they'll be good.
Go to
Why would the cows be good? They're not
Maybe
going to
they
run
came
away.
from the
Because
cows.
in every movie that we've they don't attack like the wildlife.
Yes, they
to
do.
some degree. Which movies are you
The
watching?
Walking Dead, they were eating.
Did they really?
Yeah,
eat
they're
cows?
deer and everything. The only thing the deer had going from is they're faster than a zombie. They're faster than a person.
Cows are faster
They have
than
better
people.
instincts, right?
Yeah, once they start moving, but you could walk up to a cow and then you start biting it. It's going to start running, and then
that's why I have my
gonna
guard
die.
geese.
What's that?
So I am having guard dogs, but I'm
Guard
also having a
dogs.
flock of geese.
And a guard dog will go up and try to bite the zombie, and then the zombie's going to bite the dog.
No, because they'll be agile. They'll know. It's a training
Is
course.
it? Oh.
I'm pretty sure there's a guy out there who's training dogs right now how to avoid zombies. I would bet at least a glass of wine on that.
Dogs had to
guarantee
avoid.
there's someone doing that. I guarantee it.
But I do want property where it's just like completely self-sufficient.
Yeah.
Like,
That's difficult.
it is.
Yeah.
Well, that's
that's called something too, where you have like your own self-sufficient like property out
It's
and about.
off the grid.
It is off the grid, but there's homesteading. No,
yeah,
is that what it's called?
Maybe.
I feel like that might be what
it's something around
it's something like that.
Yeah,
There's a guy on TikTok and
follow him.
Facebook and stuff where he's got a big beard and he's got this
I love
robot.
it.
He's got this robot that mows his lawn.
So do I just get like a little clip on?
Yeah.
I'm ready.
You might be in trouble. Yeah.
I hear.
I'm just like, I love it. I love the thought of it. And like being self-sufficient, like knowing how to be able to like not rely on,
Like I like the idea and concept of it.
And I know it would be hard, but I have to have my cows.
Yeah. And then that means if you have your cows, then you have to have your steaks.
It's a very long process.
If you're gonna be self-sufficient.
I know. That's why, honestly, okay. So if you haven't watched the previous episodes, there's been a thing that, because Katie and me have made a man list for 2024. And one of them has kind of been where it's like he either has cows and like has land.
That's on your list, not Katie's list.
Katie wants that too.
So Katie wants somebody with
we're
cows?
probably going to be in the same.
Well, that's true. You guys are gonna.
We're going on our honeymoon
Sister
together
wives,
anyway. That was the last thing.
Actually, it's like because you get 2 honeymoons, right? Because you don't necessarily have to get married at the exact same time.
Oh, you can't get married at the same time.
Right. So one of you're both going on the one honeymoon.
Okay, so that's
and then you both go on the other honeymoon. Yeah.
My wife calls that platonic soulmate.
Is that what it is?
That's what she.
That makes sense.
Her best friend. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, Katie is
She's
my
a platonic soulmate.
I don't know what I would do
Yeah.
without her. I miss you, Katie. I hope you're having fun.
Was it Jay and Silent Bob? It's like my heterosexual wife mate.
Is that
So Silent Bob. That's what he calls him.
Is that a song?
No.
What is that?
You know Jay and
Yeah.
Silent Bob?
Who?
Jay and Silent Bob?
I understand.
Okay. Yeah. So Jay calls Silent Bob his heterosexual life mate. Yeah.
Are you speaking English?
Yes. These are 2 people.
There was.
You should know.
there was
You ought to
4 of
know.
them, right? Is there 4?
Jay and Bob?
Yeah,
Jay and Silent
like
Bob? There's
The
2
whole
of them.
series. No, there's.
Oh, the movies?
Mallrats 2.
2. You got
there's
Clerks.
4.
Well, there's only Mallrats,
4.
Clerks 2, Clerks 3.
Yeah.
You've got
movies?
yeah.
You're
And then
talking about 90s.
Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back.
You need to be
I have watched that.
elevated in some manner, but they're really good once you're elevated.
That means getting high.
Oh,
Or drunk. It doesn't
Yeah.
you
really
can't
matter.
say hi on here. It's okay. We talked about Charlene cut it
But
out.
you need something.
So what are we talking about?
They're
That
not.
she cut
they're-
out?
If you're
It's on the
totally.
ceiling.
Oh, the LSD? Does that mean if I say the LSD, she's going to cut it out
I don't
again?
know. I don't know. She might. You have to tell her not to.
Yeah.
Charlene, no.
It's better than snakes on a plane.
that would be horrible.
I've
Snakes
seen
on a
previews for that. But
Snakes on a
never
plane.
mind.
It's funny. It's
Okay,
pretty
how
funny.
did you feel though? Okay, what happened with like the recent thing with the Boeing plane and the door came off?
No, it wasn't even the door. It was just the side of the plane.
It was the side of the plane. It wasn't the door.
Yeah.
So
it
depending on
was
how
the
they
door.
configure it, they can have 2, 4, 6 doors or whatever. So if there's not a door there, they plug it.
How do
So it's
you
the door
know?
plug.
Are you? How?
I just read about it.
Oh.
So that's like, I mean, it's so like it's a plug. They didn't in that configuration.
It
They
could have
didn't
been
use
a
it.
door, but they didn't use
So
it
they
as a
plug
door.
it.
So
It's a
that's
door
why it
plug.
looked like
Well, then that would have been in the back because they wouldn't have put a door 3/4
to
the way
the
back
front.
because they
Well,
put doors over the wings.
There's certain requirements if they have dense seating or something. They said depending on where they put their seats, depending on how they put their seats, they need doors.
Yeah.
So they just make them all and then plug them.
Yeah,
later.
well, Boeing's
easier.
generalized Boeing's 737s have your one entry door in the front, your your 2 wing doors, one on each side, and that's access to, you can get to the wing, and then you have access to the slides to get down, and then you have the one rear compartment door, the one rear entry door as well.
What men focus on is
I was an aircraft mechanic for 20 years.
I know that's what I'm like
on Boeing aircraft.
The fact that you like, I'm just like, I can
Well,
tell you
I'm
about
interested in the engineering
heels.
aspect.
I am not. My brother and my dad are. That was way over. I'm in sales. I am not, and I can learn. I know.
So how much does a Boeing aircraft cost approximately?
It depends.
Yes, good call. Good answer. It depends.
It depends on who you're buying it from.
Boeing.
It depends on like straight from Boeing.
Yeah, how much would that? You're in sales.
How big is the plane? What kind of plane?
Bigger than a bread box.
I know it depends.
Yeah, it depends.
It depends on the.
Depends. I'll get some more information and get back to you.
I could definitely probably guesstimate, but so I used to work at a place. It was an asset management company. I won't quote who, but or state who, but we had to help basically with inspections. So people were trying to buy objects, or companies were trying to buy certain things, which could have been like a helicopter, a jet, whatever. They would have to send guys over to inspect
a hard knock life.
To go like look at it to make sure it is what it is, the aircraft or whatever that they're actually trying to buy.
Right. Well, and they do have serial numbers.
Oh yeah, they
like
have
a
to
car,
go
right?
inspect. Yep, they do. Yeah, it's super interesting, but it's like, okay, like the things that they have to check, because it's like, okay, like they have to go ask, like, okay, someone has to turn it on to make sure that it works.
Well,
you know,
and if it's an aircraft, generally
like
somebody would do a test flight.
Online.
Yeah, honest, but
really
it's so
expensive.
interesting because they never had the guy who could actually turn it on. They'd be like, oh, well, I'm not allowed to, or I can't do this. So it's like, okay, well, we need the guy who can turn it on.
Well, and then there's a job as being a test pilot too, where you just travel around different places and you take off, because you're signed off on flying different airframes and everything, and they'll send you to different places, test flight, do a round, gears come up, gears go down, everything works, and then land.
Lost it.
But I'll head back here.
Before you go,
Yeah.
I want to say that all 3 of us have Seasoned Cellars wine today.
Ooh.
You've got the Rosé of Tempranillo.
That's my go-to.
That was good. Whatever that was.
That's the Transparency, which is a 3 varietal blend of Riesling, Muscat, and Müller-Thurgau. I've got sparkling effervescence to it too.
It's good.
It's
delicious.
Great entry point wine, and I'm still drinking the Malbec.
Are you drinking mine?
I've got the Malbec.
Do you still have this after February?
Yes. Yep, I will have that until we sell every drop that they've produced this year. And
okay, I'm gonna have, you sell it by the bottle too, right?
I sell that by the growler fill.
Oh, I can bring a growler and fill it?
Yep.
How's a growler? It's like 2 bottles at least.
It depends on the size of the
I have
growler.
a small one.
64 ounce is about 4 bottles.
Wow.
If I'm thinking about that correctly.
I have a hard time finishing a bottle.
Well, that's just it. So growler fills are great for, like, because you can
party,
yeah, but you can get half growlers that are like 2 bottles or whatever. And it's like, if it's a wine you like, it's like, oh, you're going somewhere. It's a good thing. You can like, oh, I love this wine. Fill it up as a growler fill, just like you're going to a party or something. Like, hey,
I need to bring my growler. I have a little small one that I was like,
a little small one.
Like it's like maybe that big.
Yeah,
perfect for wine.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so what do you think about? So you do woodworking. I'm going to say screw it. I'm going to talk about woodworking. You do woodworking. So we have a lot of wood in here. And I was thinking about getting maybe custom coasters or something too. Like, so you would do have you done that before? Have you made tons of custom coasters?
Yeah.
Because I love my little, I've got the little paper coasters with the logo and everything on there. But eventually that'd be kind of cool to get ones that I don't have to keep buying. Although being a public place as a bar like this, I'm going to lose them.
Well, they're
going to walk out the door.
Oh,
I know.
Especially if they're nice too.
They're nice, and they're going to walk out the door.
Yeah.
I already could see that.
But I mean, the way I tell people is if they walk out the door and they've got your name on it, then really they just took a permanent advertising. So you actually owe them. Well,
that depends on how much I want to pay per individual advertising. Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah, I feel like it'd be a lot of out of towners. Like, hey, I got this back when I was in Oregon.
When I was growing up, we used to we went to a bar every Wednesday. And we had so we really had this mug that we really liked, so we took the mug. Home.
Yeah.
But then everyone was like, "Oh yeah, the Chama mug. We remember the Chama mug."
Yeah.
So I think it was effective.
Yeah, I mean,
we all benefited.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I guess I wouldn't mind paying for the marketing if it's I don't know. I don't know how much a nice, but that's the thing.
Yeah.
It's you have to weigh it because I bet you like say what would be a good wood to make a coaster out of that's nice. Like what would be the top of the line? A hardwood, right?
Yeah, so I only do hardwood.
Okay,
so
only do hardwood.
Anything. I generally don't work with softwoods just because they gum up your tools more.
Yeah, and so like is oak a good one to use, or is oak a bad one to use?
I like to do a lot of compilations. So like I do so for my coasters, since you're making it so thin, I like to resaw it. So I'll chop up, and just make stripes of and then glue back together.
Epoxy kind of thing,
or just glue
or glue,
wood safe, water safe glue.
Yeah.
Because once you've done that, anything that it will do, so it'll twist and turn, you've already taken that out because it twisted, so then you re-glued it. So now when you do those little small coasters, they actually stay what they're supposed to be.
Gotcha. So do you use multiple woods then?
Variety of woods.
All in that one coaster?
Yeah, so like now.
That's cool.
And that's so like right now in my yard,
that's why you get the stripes too, and like a natural wood, like cutting board.
And that's why I look for, I say what I do for Allie is I do closing gifts. And so I will make what's long grain boards. The tree grows, the fibers grow. And so the grain goes this way. So it's just a strip. This is long grain.
Yeah.
End grain is where you take that, cut it into chunks, flip it on end. So that one I showed earlier was end grain, and it's a lot more durable, but there's a lot more work. So for coasters, we just make a long grain strip. So I'll just make this, and I'll just put, whatever woods I have, a nice pleasing pattern. Sometimes I find enough with like beautiful knots, or, whatever.
And then you got your laser engraver, so you can laser it, and then something like a coaster. Then, So do you seal it with epoxy?
That is the only time I use something. So I use polyurethane.
Polyurethane, yeah.
And
that's why I have some of these beams. I put polyurethane on just to protect them.
Yeah, I mean, because I'm a traditionalist. Yeah. I refuse. Like all of my furniture in my house is French polish, which is 10% shellac, 90% uffer.
Okay.
It's just like you put a tiny bit of shellac on there and you buff the living crap out of it for days.
Yeah.
And you just get this beautiful sheen.
Do you keep doing that, like layers?
Then I finish it with beeswax, and then every year you got, it's like like old furniture. They used to have oil it every year.
Yeah.
Before they have these hardened in place wax finishes that I just feel like they make it plastic.
Right.
That's not my style.
Yeah. That's cool. What's that stuff that's it's the like in Asia and China that they put, is it lacquer? Like that goes on the furniture, the red and like there'll be like red lacquer. I think it's like a red not paint because it's very super glossy over like a piece of furniture or something.
So they do lots. So lacquer is what you'd use, or varnish would you use if you're doing anything like boats, old wooden boats.
Okay.
Lacquered and varnished, like that really heavy, thick, glossy.
And it's going to create a barrier, and that's why it's on boats.
Because on a boat, you have a choice.
Right.
And it's the old school version of poly.
Oh, okay. All right. Interesting. Because what's thicker? Is there one that's thicker? Like if you want to I want that super thick and it's bright red.
Thick, it's the balance between hard and bendable.
Okay.
So like really hard.
Because lacquer is not bendable.
No, it's a little bit more durable than poly. Poly makes this like really hard like crust. But then if you get too hard a usage on it, that crust cracks. And then whereas lacquer is more of like a soft gel, like a seal.
Gotcha.
Right, like a wax. And so like it will seal it so that you can abuse it more, but it's not as strong.
Okay.
In general, like a hard crust keeps all the water out. Poly seals it until it chips.
And I'm not thinking like boat wise.
Right.
Like boat wise, I'm thinking like tables and stuff. Then you probably lean more towards lacquer, right? Because
but then it requires update all the time, right? Because it's not very hard, so it'll slowly wear out over time.
Oh, and
right?
you can get dents in it and scratches in it, and
so it's the balance, right?
Yeah.
There's no one. There's no one.
Gotcha. Because I do some. I'm not even going to say it's woodworking. I do stuff with wood a lot of times, and I'll make something.
Yeah.
But then I want to finish it, and I'm like, I could stain it. But then I stain it. I'm like, well, that doesn't really protect it. It just colors it. Yeah. So then. Lacquer so I did make this mobile bar for the wine bar here. So mobile bar with a tap system and everything, something like that gets moved around and beat around a bit. You think that's more lacquer or more poly it? And okay, so it's more protective.
So with poly like this, you'll know right away. You'll see a chip. You'll know when it's broken.
Okay, and then you can just fill in that chip again with more poly, or
another layer. I mean, but commercial-wise, that's just kind of.
Oh, okay. See, that's good to know.
At home, all of my furniture, my personal furniture, is sealed with beeswax.
Okay.
But that's like I melt it, I buff it on, and that's
Well, true, and that's more of and that's 6 months of protection.
Or, a year. You have to get it back every year.
Yeah, I want something more like 20 years.
Yeah.
20 years, and then I don't have to touch it. All right, cool. So, and you can get that stuff in different colors too, right? Or can you color it yourself?
I don't know the answer to that. I never color. So, my honest answer is, if I want a darker wood, I use a darker wood.
Right.
So, I don't know the answer. I never have stained.
Okay. Because I have a lot. I lived in Japan for years, and I came back with a lot of Asian furniture stuff, and they use a lot of that red lacquer on stuff. And I always wondered, is that something that you can just easily stain, or what? Come on, you're the professional. I'm trying to know. All right, cool.
We had that whole list of things. And haven't gotten there.
Yeah, right. Add Asian lacquer to your list of things to try out, and then something, because we are in Cherry City. We got cherry blossoms. You can make some pretty cool cherry blossom.
I have a lot of wild
stuff.
Cherry in my yard.
And
it's totally different than what people think.
Yeah. Like edible wild cherries.
So wild cherry. So cherry trees, Eastern cherry gets that red wood that everyone thinks of as cherry. That is probably a cherry stain.
Yeah.
Right. So a cherry.
Right.
But the cherry, most of the trees around, the decorative cherries, the Japanese ornamental, all those, they produce more of a yellowish, orangish wood. Okay. So this really yellowy. I like it, but
I have a cherry.
Very different.
I have a cherry tree at our property, and it doesn't produce cherries anymore because it's older than I am. But it looks just like a big tree, I don't know what white trunk. Big tree produces cherries to eat.
So
when I was a kid.
When they say wild cherry, I think wild cherry is prunus is the cherries are the. I know this, but anyway, they're in a specific whatever. So the category is all generally the same, and then you have your you have your Rainiers and your Bing, and all those are they're all the same. They're just same thing with wine.
Yeah, the varietals and
so when they say wild cherry, what they really mean is cherry, something.
It's some sort of cherry. It's some sort of cherry. It's kind of wild.
Cherry.
All right, cool beans. Well, I'm glad you liked that wine that we had from Seasoned Cellars. They're out of Roseburg. And when you said I'm not really big into wine, hold on, try this, because it's it's a really good gateway wine for people to
that's a good term.
Yeah, it's a gateway wine. Has some cider kind of properties to it too. Yeah, see, exactly. So when people say I don't like wine, they're like, well, what don't you like about it? And then we'll talk about it. And I was like, okay, so you don't like this. Well, let me find you something that's not that and see what you like. So, well, it's really nice having you on today, and learning about the woodworking and the teaching and the New Mexico-ness and all that fun stuff. That's awesome that you guys that you make all this stuff for. Is it just you? Do you do it alone?
So I do no, it's me and my wife. We have it together. So we are a good team.
Yeah.
So I do the woodworking part. She does the engraving part.
Nice.
I am terrible at she said she laughs at me because I say I'm a hobby collector.
Yeah.
And I like to tweak and change and
hobby
learn.
Collector.
But I also can't follow a pattern to save my life. So,
I feel you.
Routine, doing the same things. So the bookkeeping and all the network, all the stuff. She does really good at that. And I do
that's outstanding.
Wood stuff.
So, and this is both of you guys, is that your main job together? Is this?
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
So this is what we do.
That and gardening.
Yes. And then, the gardening is just for fun.
Yeah, that's one of the hobbies you've collected, right?
Yeah. I keep it around.
Yeah. It's not making you any income, but it feeds the soul.
It
feeds you.
And it pays for itself.
Yeah. That's awesome.
I can root and sell plants enough to pay for more soil.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with my woodworking. It paid for itself until I decided not to.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome. Cool. Well, awesome. Thank you for having on. Thanks, Reuben. We never shake hands at the end of the thing, but it's just you and me, so we can do that. All right, cool. This is Nate and Reuben signing off for this week. Hold My Wine podcast, and we'll see you next week. Thanks. Bye.